Hello everyone, Jeff here with you for episode number 17 of the Wednesday Night Wrestling Blitz here on YouTube. This is a GMTE Express add-on. Let's get right into the action. We're going to start with NXT first. It took place from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida, as it typically does. This was their go-home show to the Takeover Portland show that's going to be airing this upcoming weekend and taking place on the WWE Network. Before we get into the results here, Triple H earlier this week on the TakeOver conference call announced that an upcoming episode of NXT will actually be outside of Full Sail because of a prior commitment that's going on there. So we'll find out when and where that's going to be taking place here in the near future. We get on to the opening contest. We had Roderick Strong coming out here to address the return of Velveteen Dream. He talked about how Dream had put the faces of his wife and child on the gear a la Rick Rude. He said it was disrespectful, wanted an apology. Instead, Bronson Reed comes out to respond to what he and the rest of the Undisputed Era had done to him backstage last week after an attack. Ultimately, we get a match out of these two. They have the match. It's a good match, back and forth action here. At one point, they had done a deal where Velveteen Dream's graphics and stuff on the screen would appear and all that. It distracted Roderick Strong for a bit, but he was able to ultimately recover, and he was able to beat Bronson Reed with a needed a face for the win. And so he got the win here in a good match, I thought. A lot of good action. Afterwards, we saw Velveteen Dream on the screen backstage, taunting him and trying to get his goat, I guess you could say. So obviously, Roderick Strong and Velveteen Dream is a match that's coming up here in the near future. After this, we had the first of what would be several of these running gags throughout the entire show with the Broserweights, of course, that being Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. The gag here was trying for those two to get, along with the Dusty Trophy, to the NXT TakeOver show in Portland. They did the deal here first. We're just going to lump all these in together real quick. They did a deal where Pete Dunne was driving the wrong way, a la what they do in over in Europe, in England. They eventually got the car towed away. Then later on, we saw them riding this duck boat, trying to get to Portland. That didn't go very far. And then ultimately, near the end of the show, we see them on this tarmac getting into the plane. We didn't know who it was initially. Then we see Triple H make a cameo. There was kind of stowaways in this private plane that is apparently Triple H's, as they're going their way to NXT TakeOver Portland. So that was the running gag there. Next match on the card, we had Dakota Kai taking on Candice LeRae here. It's a good match. Again, a lot of back and forth stuff here from these two. Just a lot of kicks here, back and forth. At one point, Candice LeRae took a stiff kick to the face, and her nose inadvertently got busted and bled a little bit here. She kept going here. Ultimately, in the end, we see Dakota Kai actually win the match. She won on a roll-up using a handful of the tights to beat Candice LeRae. Afterwards, LeRae tries to go right after her, but Dakota Kai grabbed the ring bell and used it as a weapon on her. Tegan Nox came out to make the save and beat down Dakota Kai before the officials tore them apart. So, obviously, they're telling the story and getting ready for that match with Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox at the TakeOver show. And so we have that coming up. Next match on the card, we had Johnny Gargano taking on Cameron Grimes here. Good stuff here. We had a nice exchange of takedowns and counters early on here. Ultimately, Cameron Grimes took control of the match. Once he was able to get, at one point he was able to get out of a Gargano escape for a while. And then Gargano took control, hit a series of quick moves, got a nice pop from the crowd there. Ultimately, in the end, Gargano won the match. He got him in the Gargano lock there, in the Gargano escape, and then ultimately got a tap out of Cameron Grimes. In a good match that saw Johnny Gargano win to pick up momentum for his upcoming match with Adam Cole. Next match on the card here, we had an outstanding cruiserweight match. We had Leo Rush taking on Angel Garza. Of course, Angel Garza is doing double duty with his time on Raw and here on NXT. Good stuff here. Both guys trying to get a win here to get into the title picture against Jordan Devlin, because the winner is going to get that shot here. Both guys just go back and forth here. Good stuff here. We get towards the late part of the match. At one point, we had Leo Rush able to prevent Garza from hitting his wing clipper off the top rope, and then Garza was on the outside. Then, because later on, Leo Rush had hit the final hour on the outside. They get back into the ring. We get a lot of what you would call false finishes, and then ultimately Leo Rush was able to get the win on a roll-up. So Leo Rush gets the win as he rightfully should have, and then Jordan Devlin did come out upon the stage. Him and Leo Rush did a little bit of trash talking to set up that title match coming up for those two, so we have that. Bianca Belair was out for a match. She's taking on Santana Garrett here. A complete squash here. There's really no reason for this match to happen. She just took Santana Garrett apart here, hit her with a spear, and then she hit the EST, the EST, I should say. She hit her finisher here pretty quickly on Santana Garrett and beat her with the KOD, I should say. Afterwards, she grabbed the mic and complained that Rhea Ripley and Charlotte were looking past her to WrestleMania 36. Rhea Ripley does come out to respond, but Bianca Belair got her heat in. She hit, she ultimately hit Rhea Ripley with the KOD and actually left her laying to get the upper hand here, so she's standing tall here in the end. Your main event for the night, we had Adam Cole taking on Kushida. This was a non-title match. They gave this match plenty of time and went close to 20 minutes here. Adam Cole was out on his own here. No other members of the Undisputed Era. We had seen Roderick Strong earlier on. He was distraught. And the tag team champions were nowhere to be found here on the show. So it's one-on-one action here. Good stuff. I thought this was a pretty good match. A lot of back and forth here, a lot of kicks, a lot of technical takedowns. Adam Cole ultimately, in the end, was able to get the win. He hit the last shot to the back of the head on Kushida to get a hard-fought victory here after about 20 minutes. And then ultimately, in the end, we see Tommaso Ciampa come down to have a stare down with Adam Cole as they went off the air. So that's what we have there. So that was NXT that took place from Full Sail University in Winter Park, Florida. AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite was now taking place. We had it from the HEB Center in Cedar Park / Austin, Texas. Of course, that is the home of the Texas Stars of the American Hockey League and the Austin Spurs of the NBA G League. It opened the show here with an AEW Tag Team title match. We had Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega of the Elite, your defending AEW Tag Team champions, taking on SCU here. The Dark Order had issued a warning to both teams here ahead of the match, and ultimately we saw Christopher Daniels volunteer to go check on things, and he just left and never came back. I think kind of planting the seeds that maybe they want you to think he's going to be the exalted one as of the leader of the Dark Order. We'll see. I still think Matt Hardy's the better choice here. This is a good match. Omega gets worked over for a while. Ultimately, Hangman Page gets the hot tag. He runs wild here. Ultimately, they did the deal where they hit the buckshot lariat V-trigger combo on the Kazarian, and they actually won and retained as they should have. No reason to switch the titles here. Hangman Page exits through the crowd celebrating with a beer or two or more with the fans. We see the Dark Order, the Hybrid 2, the Butcher and the Blade, the Best Friends, and the Young Bucks all hit the ring. They get a kind of like a mini Battle Royal brawl going here, and Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, were left standing tall when it was all said and done. We had an interview, a pre-recorded interview with Jim Ross. He was in the ring before the show with Santana of the Inner Circle. This was a great promo, by the way, from Santana. Ross asked Santana what he meant, what he said he'd show Jon Moxley what it was like to live in darkness. Santana said about 10 years ago he was living in a terrible apartment, broke, no job, no direction, and he was at his lowest point. Santana said he had called his dad and explained to him the same thing. He talked about his father, who had recently just passed away, and mentioned that his dad couldn't see. He had started to lose his sight at the age of 14 and was essentially blind by 25. It was said. Santana says that what he has to live with, and he wants to show Moxley the same kind of darkness. So that's what he was. He started off as a babyface promo, and then reverted back to the heel. So I thought this was a great promo from Santana. Outstanding. We got a Darby Allin pre-recorded video. He's holding up pieces of cardboard in front of this video camera. He's selling the throat injury from the deal with the skateboard. Basically saying it was a mistake to slash his throat with the skateboard, and he will find the Inner Circle. He ultimately does challenge Sammy Guevara to a match at Revolution, which is more than likely going to take place. Jim Ross did say on air that Darby Allin has no official return date because of the selling of the throat injury. I still think they're going to have that match at Revolution by hook or by crook. So anyway, Sammy Guevara is in the next match. He's taking on Dustin Rhodes. Is of course hometown hero here for Austin here with Dustin Rhodes. Of course, Jake Hager is out with Sammy Guevara here. It's a good match, good stuff. I thought. I thought this was actually the weakest match of any of the matches here on this show, but it still wasn't too terribly bad. He's ultimately gets you still got a chance as it was going on here. We had a distraction by Hager at one point and allowed Guevara to put Dustin Rhodes into a version of the GTS. He was able to recover and kick out of that, and then ultimately Dustin Rhodes battled back with a Canadian Destroyer and actually won with the final reckoning to get a win over the Inner Circle here in Sammy Guevara Jr., who's by far the weakest member. Afterwards, Dustin challenged Jericho's bitch, his words, that's being Jake Hager, to a match at Revolution, which has since been made official for February 29th. So that'll be a good match. It'll be Jake Hager's first match in AEW. Britt Baker was out for an interview with Tony Schiavone yet again, so this seems to be like a running gag with these two. I thought she had a good promo here. She basically runs down the fans of Austin, doing heel stuff here. At one point, talking about referring to the fans as having a Whataburger, chubby cheeks and all that. So basically using Whataburger as a heel device here. It actually gets a Whataburger chant. And the fans ultimately boo her. She claims that Nyla Rose and Rio, who have a title match that's coming up in the show, are second to her, while basically says, also talking about why she did the deal with Sakazaki's teeth last week. She ultimately said that she was just doing her a favor, and then she insulted the Texas crowd and then just left. So I thought this was another good to decent promo here from Britt Baker. She's starting to find her way as a heel, and I said it all along that I thought the money would be on Britt Baker being a heel, and I think that's what to do. And I think she's personally channeling her inner Charlotte Flair. That's something I've said a lot, and I believe she does watch promos of Charlotte Flair because I can kind of see the little nuances of that. So we have that. We had the AEW Women's title match here. We have Rio defending the title against Nyla Rose. This is a rematch from the premiere episode of Dynamite from October 2nd when they were both battling to be the first AEW Women's Champion when Rio won that night. This was an outstanding match. Easily the best women's match they've had since AEW's Dynamite run on television here. I thought this was great. A lot of back and forth. Though Nyla got quite a bit of heat in on her for a while. At one point, she teased a table spot here by actually getting a table. Nyla was able to take control for a while. Rio didn't make the comeback. She delivered a top rope knees across the neck, and then at one point Nyla hit this outstanding looking second rope Death Valley driver, but for a very close near fall. At one point Nyla tried for the one winged angel, but Rio actually countered in the Snapdragon suplex. Is outstanding. She hit successive double stomps off the ropes, but could only get 2 counts. At the last one had Nyla get her foot on the rope. Ultimately, Nyla Rose was able to recover. She ultimately hit the spear. It was not a great looking one, to say the very least. But then she hit the her version of the sit down power bomb. They call it the Beast Bomb. That was an outstanding looking move. Rio, I will say, sold very well for it here, and she pinned Rio and won the title here, as she should have. It was inevitable they were eventually going to put the title on Nyla Rose here. I think this was the right move. Rio, she's been the champion since October, but I think her run's been mostly ineffective. So Nyla, they have at least someone believable holding the title now, and when we'll see what kind of matchup she has coming up here in the future. Backstage, we see Lexi talking to Jericho, and then Jericho says that Moxley proved that he's trash after stealing the 4GT car, and then jabbing Santana with the key to his eye. Jericho says if Moxley can survive Santana, then next up, Moxley will face newcomer Jeff Cobb, of course, known for his work in New Japan Pro Wrestling and Ring of Honor. We did get a vignette promo package for Cobb here, so it kind of changed up here, so I think that's good. And it would not be the last time we'd see Cobb on the night. Next match on the card here, we had MJF, the best heel in all professional wrestling right now, taking on Jungle Boy Jack here. MJF was out to the ring here. Brandy Rhodes, I guess they're no longer doing the Nightmare Collective. I guess they've stopped that. She was out for commentary for the match, basically playing the babyface here. No mention of the Nightmare Collective as well. So this was an outstanding match. Great heel heat from MJF here. He took control early. But Jungle Boy got a lot of offense in here. Was able to, at one point late in the match, hit a powerbomb out of the corner to hit on MJF. Got a very close near fall on them. And then we see, because Warlord and the rest of them had all gone to the back, Warlord made his way back down towards the later part of the match here. He handed MJF the diamond ring, and then he nailed Jungle Boy with it behind the referee's back. The referee did not see that. And then ultimately MJF hit his version of the double cross for the win. So MJF got the win as he should have. Jungle Boy looked great in defeat here. I think this was probably his best showing so far. Afterwards, Warlow got into the ring. He did a release airplane spin, and then ultimately we see Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt make their way out to chase off MJF and Warlord. So obviously there's this little feud is going to continue from the looks of it. We got a Pac promo backstage. He's cutting on Kenny Omega, saying that all of Omega's problems are because of him. We see clips of Pac working out as this was going on, and then they'll meet in a 30-minute Iron Man match in a couple of weeks. So, and Pac says that we'll just see how good Omega really is. So that's what we had there. Your main event for the night here is an eye for an eye match, as they were billing it. We had Jon Moxley taking on Santana of the Inner Circle here. Santana and Ortiz attacked Moxley during his entrance. Moxley was able to fend him off and deliver a top rope dive to the floor that took out Santana. Ultimately, Santana was able to recover and dominate on Moxley for a while. We saw the rest of the Inner Circle watching from a skybox. They're just the commentary team at one point is putting over Moxley's match next week against Jeff Cobb as the number one contender. Was in this match here, so obviously we knew it was pretty clear we were going to see Cobb at some point again here. Ultimately, Moxley was able to win in the end. He hit the paradigm shift on Santana and got the win. Afterwards, Ortiz attacked Moxley, and the rest of the Inner Circle came down to do a beatdown. And then we saw Jericho hit his Judas effect, and then Jeff Cobb actually made his way out, and he delivered a tour of the islands and just laid out Moxley to further insult the injury. And then they all stood tall over Moxley as they went off the air. So that was AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite that took place from the HEB Center in Cedar Park / Austin, Texas. I thought that was exactly what they needed to do. Let's very quickly go over the ratings, and I'll give you my pick of the week here. The ratings are in for both shows this week. It saw AEW once again win for the week. Yet again, they did 817,000 viewers, while NXT did 757,000 viewers. Dynamite was down 12% compared to last week, while NXT was down just 2%, but still enough for them to win. AEW pretty much won in all the demos. They had a 0.30 rating in the key demo, 18-49, while NXT did a 0.24. AEW won in all the demos except females 18-49 and 50+, and people 50+. Actually, NXT won those. They always win the 50+. But the females actually 18-49 edged it out for NXT. Females 12-34 actually tied for the week. So, but AEW won in total viewership, and that's what we go by here. So through 19 weeks, AEW has won 15 weeks. NXT has won 3 weeks, and we had the one tie. So that's as far as what we had as the ratings. My pick of the week, I actually thought good shows again this week. My pick is AEW. I thought AEW from start to finish was the better show overall. Even with NXT having their go-home show to NXT Takeover Portland, I just thought AEW was the better show this week. So AEW is my pick of the week. So through 17 episodes here, I have NXT with 11 picks and AEW with 6 picks. Let me know down in the comments section below what your favorite moment from Wednesday's action is. And my NXT TakeOver Portland predictions, I have a video of that up on YouTube already. I'll have a link to that in the description here as well, so I hope you check that out. We'll see you the next time on the next Wednesday Night Wrestling Blitz here on YouTube. Bye for now, everyone.